Good afternoon, dear audience, lovely audience, and thank you for being here. Thank you, ARYC, for giving me an opportunity to speak. Let me first begin my presentation by expressing gratitude to Sun, which is the primary source of energy in all creations. See, we consume some amount, whether we are following a vegan diet or a vegetarian or otherwise, we are consuming some amount of sunlight in some form or the other. Because plants, they make use of sunlight, and along with the other things, the pigment, chlorophyll, and other things, they make food, and animals depend on plants. So we are consuming some amount of sunlight, and that is what is called photonic nutrition. Nutrition, one of the principles of nutrition is the transfer of light from one species to another. And this correlates to the sun salutations we do in yoga, where we surrender all the ego and everything to the mighty power of sun. So like that, we can actually have, there are so many similarities between yoga and nutrition. See, one of them is like I told about sun salutation. The other one is about when we are confused about dietary choices, when we are bombarded with so much of information from the media, from the friends, and we don't know how to go about. So we listen to our body's requirements. Similarly, when we are confused about arriving at a decision, we listen to our inner voice in silence, in stillness, and we go by what our mind says, what our heart says. So that's very important. The third is, likewise, there are more similarities actually. So I'll go for the important ones, breathing and mitochondrial health. See, mitochondria is a powerhouse of the cell, okay? So when we take in food, which is in the form of, let's say, any food, which is glucose like C6, I remember it's a throwback to the chemistry that we learned during our school days, that is C6H12O6 plus 6O2 is 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus ATP. Okay, I don't know whether you all can recollect that. So the oxygen that we take in, along with the food, it gives out carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So if you are practicing pranayams or deep breathing exercises, the more oxygen intake we have, the more carbon dioxide will be expelled and more energy efficiency of the mitochondria. So that's what it is said, So and not only that, carbon dioxide is something which alkalizes our body. It is acidic to the body, so it is being expelled. Your body gets more alkalized if you have taken more of oxygen. So breathing and mitochondrial, and this is what is happening to mitochondria. In intermittent fasting, which is the trend these days, what's happening is the mitochondria, after a certain age, it actually conks off. So intermittent fasting revs up the mitochondria. That's what happens, and that's how intermittent fasting reverses aging. That's one of the things. So then there are many factors which are affecting the food choices. The culture, the community values, the family values, the traditions, then the vegetarian, vegan, macrobiotic, so many dietary theories, Paleolithic, ketogenic, macrobiotic. You can come out with your own dietary theory. There is 70 to 20%, whereas 70% of the time you eat right and 20% of the time you eat whatever you want to eat. Or 80 to 20, where 80% of the time you eat right and the 20% of that. So we have the migration, adaptability to new culinary choices. That is, when we migrate from one country to another, we carry the culture, the traditional cuisine culture with us, or we adapt to their, the country's culture like that. Immediate environmental settings is very important. Sometimes, you may have to play the role of a caretaker, of a caregiver. So in that case, you have to compromise on your own nutrition. So that is one thing. Again, your attitude to cooking. Like, for instance, after a hard day's work, a lot of us are in the habit of ordering food from restaurants, So that is like, why should I cook, Because food is seen as a reward also, like. So people rely on convenience food. So your food choices depend on that, your attitude towards that. People, are sometimes hesitant to cook. They think cooking is very, very tedious. Those kind of attitude. The work culture. Said when we are stressed out, we are prone to caffeine addiction, sugar cravings. Then, and again, back-to-back meetings if you have in the office, we just grab some convenient food and then, we compromise on the nutrition. So that is again the work culture. Then the social life. the health goals. Sometimes you may have a particular health goal. You have to reverse diabetes, and then you add certain ingredients in your cooking so as to reverse that, or you have a restricted way of eating. The depression and social isolation, and that is something which that is emotional binging, that is eating triggered by stress. So that I'm coming to that later, but that's something very important in mindful eating. I'll be covering that. That is when some people actually, they are so much triggered by stress to eat. And so one of the solutions that I offer them is, what is the purpose of eating? Like, what are you craving for? What are you hungry for? Just ask this question 3 times, pause. And like that, you keep practicing and connect with the emotion that triggered you to eat. That is the most important aspect of mindful eating, mindfulness and bringing. There are several different aspects. It's not just eating without watching TV or eating without distractions. It involves a whole lot of things, how you source the food, how you make the smart, conscious choices by reading the labels, what is the cooking vessel that you're using, and so many things. Are you able to connect with the food? Do you know the story of the food that you're eating? And so many things come into being, So. And addictive susceptibilities. This is what I see in many people, when I talk to them about losing weight, that's something. There's a scale of susceptibilities, okay, addictive susceptibilities. For instance, if my friend has, let's say, 1 cup of ice cream, okay, when I say, oh my God, she's having 1 cup of ice cream, maybe I'm on a restricted calorie diet. And then my problem is, my friend stops with 1 cup. I may not stop with 1 cup. I go on having that. It's like, that is called addictive susceptibility, that is called. So on a scale of addictive susceptibilities, we should know where we are. Are we at 3, or are we at 10, or are we at 9? And this is one of the things that is covered in the psychology of eating, the relationship with food. Then, of course, the media, the food industry, government, and everything. So because, the government also plays a role in, for example, in canola oil and spreading the use of the benefits of canola oil. The Canada government took a big step, forward in that, because the canola is derived from Canada and oil is derived from Ola, okay? So that's where it is. So many governments are also, have vested interest in promoting. Now, does what we eat really, really matter? Do we really look into it? So some people we have different ways of looking at food. Sometimes, we say like, well, I can eat anything I want to because then I work out in the gym for 1.5 hours. So food is seen as a reward like. But what happens is like it changes the entire biochemistry. For instance, you have a cup of cooked spinach or a cup of cooked steamed vegetables, and you have a cup of chips, okay, pretzel chips. So when you have the chips, maybe the same quantity, but what the chips does to that is maybe it adds trans fats and it spikes up the sugar levels. Whereas a kale or a cup of cooked spinach, it actually nourishes you and heals you at a deeper level. So that is the quality versus the quantity, okay? And food is information that can upgrade or downgrade our biological software. And that is what has been said by Dr. Mark Hyman. Dr. Mark Hyman was one of my teachers, and he is a functional medicine expert also. You can do a Google search. You'll have a lot of information about him. And there is something called nutrigenomics. Nutrigenomics means nutrition, food that speaks to the genes. What we eat speaks to the genes. So it is not just the genes that make us. So what we eat, every morsel of food, if you eat food with that awareness, it changes your entire approach to food, actually. See, for instance, let's say my father is diabetic, which touch wood he is not. Doesn't mean that I have to be diabetic. I may be carrying the gene, but I may be having a right lifestyle, good eating habits, and that can prevent the genes to express itself. So it can even change the expression of the genes. So powerful is what we eat, actually. And eating to beat inflammation. So my co-speaker, she spoke about stress, spoke about inflammation. So that's what happens is when we are eating, there are 2 kinds of inflammation within the body, okay? One is when we have a cut or a wound, we can see that actually. There is pus emanating, there is a swelling, we can see that. But if we are going to have religiously, we are going to eat a lot of those junk foods, over a period of time, it causes silent inflammation, which clogs the arteries, which clogs the cells. And silent inflammation is the root cause of all diseases. It could be any metabolic disorder, it could be type 2 diabetes, it could be cardiovascular disease, it could be, even the neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's. So that is what. So we need to include anti-inflammatory foods in order to overcome that, and I will cover that in a separate slide. Then the acid-alkaline balance is very important. So we have the pH scale. You may all be knowing that, right? pH scale, right? So 0 to 14. So below 7 is acidic, and above 7 is alkaline. So, but it has to maintain a balance like 7.2 to 7.3 somewhere. Now the thing is, if different kinds of fluids in the body have different pH levels. For example, urine is acidic, but blood has to be alkaline if it has to transport nutrients to the cells. So in case if you're having a diet with lots of processed foods and the junk foods, the blood becomes acidic. But what it does it do? It actually withdraws all the minerals like calcium to alkalize it. And then it will transport the minerals to the cells, nutrients to the cells. So imagine this happening for a long period of time, okay? We are eating a lot of junk food, the blood is becoming acidic, every time minerals are being withdrawn. And over a period of time, it leads to osteoporosis. That is what happens, It withdraws calcium and magnesium and all these minerals. So if you look at the diet of people, with osteoporosis, myself, my clients, I find that a lot of the ladies, they have these acidic foods, okay? So that's something, which I've seen. So it's very important. And the foundation of youth is the growth hormone, GH we call it, growth hormone. And that can be maintained. The secret for maintaining the growth hormone, because as we age, the growth hormone becomes less. So the secret of that is to have a lot of alkaline foods. That is the green foods, the green vegetables and many things, which can alkalize your body. It can even be having lemon water, warm water, apple cider vinegar, the probiotics, and so many things. Then the food. This is very interesting. I think last month I was in a panel, okay? So we had somebody who was 100% vegan fighting for this, animal cruelty, fighting against animal cruelty. And we had a person who was following the paleo diet, okay? So he said, I'm going to have, I have this, you guys don't have B12, but I have B12 in my diet and all that. So I was sandwiched between these two people. And I said, take a pause. Let's see what happened. Like, you are talking about open, pastured, free-range eggs. You are talking about having meat from animals which are not injected with hormones. And here, the vegan guy is talking about organic farming, He's talking about vegetables, sustainable produce. So what is a common thing among all dietary principles? It could be anything that people choose to have. We are talking about regenerative farming. Sustainability is the key thing, behind all. So that is where all the diets unify. One of the key things unifying all diets is, there's one more thing, I'll come to that later. So one of the key things, that is sustainability. How this was raised, how this animal was raised, how this vegetable was grown. So now, what is the shift that we see? See, we are talking about food as medicine. We are just going back to what Hippocrates said some many years ago. That is, food is medicine, and food is thy medicine, and medicine is thy food, okay? So it's seen as a therapeutic tool. It changes the biochemistry, the brain chemistry, the gut microbiome, which is very important. That's what I tell people, nutrition is not just something what we eat. It's about how much we can absorb and what we can create in terms of a healthy gut, create in terms of a healthy microbiome with every morsel of food. So bio-individuality or biohacking, because no one-size diet fits all, okay? So it is highly individualistic, suiting your biological needs. Biohacking means, certain tools like, for instance, you make some changes to your diet, okay? And, or maybe you enroll for a yoga class, and maybe 3 months later, you check how you adapt yourself to stress. Are your stress level response, is it better? Okay, that is biohacking, using some tools actually to intervene and then find out how you're progressing, you're hacking your body. That's biohacking. It is not just with that. Maybe even blood sugar monitoring, which you can do at home, blood pressure monitoring. That's also a biohacking tool actually, okay? And then lab testing. So that is something which you can do, biohacking. And nutrition is dynamic. When I say dynamic, people ask me like, how much, water should I take every day? So I said, maybe today you're okay with 3 glasses of water the first thing in the morning, but tomorrow you may be traveling to a cold country. Maybe you just have 1 glass of water. So nutrition is something dynamic. So we need to know that, we need to adapt it according to the change of seasons. Because, see, people don't understand. The most important thing is what we eat, we should absorb. I have seen people being very, very obsessive with what they eat. They combine traditional diets with green smoothies, but they have to have the green smoothie. Okay? The result is that neither the green smoothie digests nor the traditional diet digests. So it's very important. So what digested for you 10 years back will not be suitable to you now. So that is something very, very important. Nutrition is not static. And mindful eating and mindful cooking, as I said, my dear friends, mindful eating is not just eating without distractions. It means quite a lot of things. It means the sourcing of food. It means connecting with the emotions that trigger the food, being aware of that, being grateful to the food that is being served on your plate. How you're growing the food, how do you connect with the story, that's also very important. And mindful cooking, that is very important. How do you cook the food mindfully? Are you using because what is happening is here, I want to bring attention to one thing, I was doing a sugar-free challenge for kids in one of the gym schools. So there we found that one of the things is, there are, we have this sweet, sour, and salty taste. We use that in common. But there is bitter, astringent, and pungent. We need to include all these tastes in cooking. That is something called the mindful cooking. And here, there's a taste called, which is which is a combination of being sweet, sour, and salty. That is called umami. Have you heard of umami taste? Yeah. So that is when, it was being discovered by Japanese scientists. So what they do is they combine, how the food industry plays around with it is, they actually combine foods with basic umami. Okay, for example, corn. So corn has some basic umami. Tomato has that. So they combine corn and tomato, so have the nachos with salsa sauce. Even burgers, burger you find tomatoes, you find cutlets which are made by browning. The way you cook also adds to the umami taste. Then we have, what is that? And the chicken, that is also there. Chicken burgers, which the children are addicted to. So all these, they combine the umami-rich foods and create the synergizing effect. But umami is good, but what they do is, the food industry does it, they add the monosodium glutamate in them, MSG, which is not good for our brain health over a period of time. So I just remembered that, when umami, it was just after this thing. But now this is something which I'd like to talk about. So usually the 3 musketeers are carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Okay, we talk about that. We don't talk much about something which is called the phytonutrients. Phytonutrients is, phyto means sunlight. So there are various plant pigments which absorb the sunlight and they provide nutrition to us. So this is called the phytonutrients. See, until the 20th century, they were known only as antioxidants. You all know what are antioxidants, right? They protect the cells from the damage caused by the free radicals. They prevent oxidative stress. Okay, that's what they do. So in the 21st century, they begin to have talk about the localized benefits of the phytonutrients. For instance, it said, if you are consuming foods with blue color, like the blueberries, what's that, eggplant, okay, and others, okay, maybe the purple cauliflower that you find. So that is called the pigment called anthocyanins. So in the cerebellum part of the brain, there is a pigment called anthocyanin. So cerebellum is the seat of memory and learning. So if you're consuming foods with purple color, which anthocyanins, it can improve your mental acuity, and that's what has been proven. Similarly, when you consume foods with for the macular degeneration, you must have heard of doctors prescribing lutein supplements. So lutein is another pigment which you can find in the macular region, okay, behind the retina. So what doctors prescribe, they extract from the yellow color flower called marigold. And all the yellow colored vegetables, they have this lutein. So it is very important for macular health, to have a lot of these yellow pigments. Now that took me to, while I was studying on the localized benefits of phytonutrients, I was thinking of, how do we align this with the various chakras in our body? Okay, these phytonutrients can serve as a yogic food for chakras. That's an interesting topic. For instance, we have the red-colored foods. Okay, all the red-colored foods have vitamin C, very important for immunity, makes us rooted to the ground, builds stability in us. So they have the lycopene, that is where you find tomatoes. You have. When I ask people what are the red foods that they have, they usually say apples or tomatoes. There is no beetroot there. There's no red bell pepper there. So you need to. You should not confine yourself to eating just one vegetable or so, because some people say, okay, my kid likes only pasta, I serve him only pasta, okay, because that's very important to promote a wide variety of gut flora actually. Now coming back to these red-colored fruits, so we can say that since it provides stability, it correlates to Mooladhara chakra. Okay, having that, it actually nourishes the Mooladhara chakra, all the red-colored foods. Okay, so when you have the kids, you can say, I have a red-colored day. When I teach the kids, I have a blue day. So you have all the 7 colors, covered in a week. But with the adults, like you can also say Mooladhara day, Anahata day. You can add nutrition according to that, So I always prefer this way. I'll come to that. The second one is the orange pigment, okay? So the orange actually denotes that circle of fertility, exchange of ideas, manifestation of ideas. So that is related to creativity and growth. And our reproductive system is responsible for creation, okay? So having these orange-colored foods, which are rich in the pigment called beta-carotene, provides is very good for reproductive health, for ovarian health, for secretion of more progesterone, which balances, the imbalances in estrogen secretion. So it's very good for, that's what has been said. So that nourishes the, the Swadhisthana chakra, so for the creativity, okay? Now the third one is the yellow-colored foods. So the yellow colors have a lot of fiber in them, like, bananas, for instance, but some of them secrete digestive enzymes, actually. So for example, ginger and lemon or lime. So they also support in actually digestion. So that is the yellow color, so digestive fire, which stimulates the digestive fire. So that is good for the Manipuri chakra, okay? Then comes the Anahata chakra, which is the green color, which is, so all the green color pigment that you find. And it's very interesting thing about this, about the phytonutrients is that sometimes, the one color camouflages the other. For instance, you have the green color in the, the spinach, that camouflages the yellow color, lutein. So we will not be able to say, that's why they say, eating spinach is good for eyes. But, the yellow color, lutein is actually camouflaged by the green color. So that is good for all the green colored foods are good for the cardiovascular health. So that is good for the Anahata chakra, okay? So if you want to spread the message of love, you can eat more of those green foods, or you can have, what I do daily is, like, I became a bit conscious when after I studied the effects, like, I want to see a lot of colors on my plate. So, but I said, okay, I have the Anahata chakra, plus another, and a lot of others. I mean, maybe red-colored vegetables. So today is my, whatever you call it, Mooladhara chakra day, but I always have it combined with the green vegetable, okay? Then comes, the thyroid gland, okay? The thyroid gland is situated in the throat region, speaking the truth related to Vishuddhi chakra. So all these aquamarine plants, the aquamarine blue-colored plants, they are the sea vegetables, okay? They are not blue-colored. Some of them which I'm familiar with are the nori, must have seen in the Japanese cuisine, nori sheets. Then we have the kelp. Then we have wakame and so many things, So they all nourish the thyroid gland, actually. So so blue stands for this throat region, Vishuddhi chakra, okay? Then what comes, blue color is there. This blue color or the purple color. So aquamarine foods, the sea vegetables are good for the thyroid region, not the blue color. The blue colored foods, as I mentioned earlier, they are good for actually the Anahata chakra, okay? Agna chakra, okay? Because they have anthocyanins, which help in memory, learning, providing insight, governing our thoughts. So all the blue-colored pigments, you have the blueberries, you have the eggplant. I don't know, we don't find much of blue things. You have the raisins also, right? And grapes also, grapes. All these are good, okay? So that is good for the Agna chakra. Then comes all the white-colored vegetables. That is, we have the cauliflower, we have cabbage. All these have the sulforaphane compounds in them, sulforaphanes, which even protect us from cancer. They also have then the garlic, which you have, that all these white onions, all these have, and they are that is correlated to the detoxification. So it is the spiritual halo that you find. So the Sahasrara chakra. So all the 7 colors, cover all the chakras like. It is just that, see, these are things not written. It is just that I was doing the studies, I felt like why can't we, this being a yoga related event, I'll speak about it in this way, okay? It's not mentioned anywhere like that. And nutrition, I told you what it is. Then comes the gut microbiome. Yeah, why an apple a day keeps a doctor away? It's a very simple thing which I want to explain. See, what is gut and what is microbiome? Gut is a long digestive tract which runs from the mouth to the anus, covering the pancreas, covering the esophagus, covering the stomach, liver, everything, okay, that is it. And microbiome is going to be the word. Microbiome is the one-celled organism which you can find on your hair, your skin, everywhere in water or everywhere you can find. Now, we are speaking about the health of the gut, actually, healthy gut flora. The flora, the bacteria which resides in the large intestine. That's what. And Hippocrates has said that all diseases begin in the gut. So why is the gut health very, very important? We hear about these days, and the gut has a second brain and everything. The gut is connected to the brain by a nerve called the vagus nerve. It is said that over 70% of the request of the activity done by the brain is because of the request of the bacteria. Okay, that's what has been proven. And until I think about 4 years back, it was not known that it is the bacteria in the gut which produces the mood-enhancing hormone, which is called the serotonin hormone, the happy hormone. Okay, we thought that it was produced by the brain, actually produced in the brain. But now it has been established, now the research has proven that almost 90% of the serotonin is produced by the bacteria in the gut. So if you do not have the specific gut flora which produces serotonin, then anxiety and depression will take over. Okay, that's something. So, and not only that, if serotonin is less, your sleep hormone quantity will also be less. So it affects so you can just see, there are gut flora. That's why it is very important to eat a wide variety of vegetables and fruits, because there are different gut flora involved in different functions within the body. So you will be surprised, even for speaking from health perspective, women, even the gut flora are involved in balancing the estrogen levels. There is a kind of gut flora called estrobolome, if I'm not mistaken, that actually regulates the estrogen production within the body. So what it does is that the endocrine glands produce less of estrogen, it will direct them to produce more. If it produces more, it will direct them, it will flush out the excess estrogen, along with a lot of the green vegetables that you can take, it will flush out the excess estrogen. That's how you heal from polycystic ovary and everything, okay? Then even thyroid, actually 20% of the bacteria are involved in the conversion of inactive thyroid into active thyroid. So again, if the good bacteria are less, it can affect the digestive health also. You might have heard of people having inflammatory bowel diseases and those kind of things. Now the thing is, how to incorporate. We have seen that why gut flora is very important, but how is it that we can have a healthy gut flora? What can we do every simple day, okay? Yes, you know that probiotics are there, probiotics in the form of curd, of course, and different cultures will have different kinds of probiotics, so kimchi, sauerkraut, we have the pickles, the lacto-fermented pickles. So many things are there for probiotics. But I give one simple formula. You can all take home and implement that. One root fiber, okay, could be a one root, because bacteria, the large intestine, they feed on the root fiber, okay. So one root fiber, it could be, but if you have sugar levels, you need to eat logically. So you can eat either turnips, parsnips, radish, if not sweet potatoes, if you have problem with sugar levels. So you need to balance it out. So one root fiber plus any 2 fibrous vegetables, okay, every day. That is one thing. And then I will give you a very, very simple thing that you all can go home and make, okay? I have tried it out. I talk to people, my clients, with children, okay? So what I tell them is, you take an apple, okay? And you cut it into small pieces, but the skin should be there. And take about 1/4 of water and you boil that, okay? Stand near the gas stove, don't go anywhere else. And wait for the shimmer to see on the apple, okay? This shimmer is the release of the pectin from the apple. So immediately turn off the gas and then allow it to cool and store that apple sauce. You can call it by any name you want. For my convenience, I called it apple sauce. And you can store it in there and you can have 1 tablespoon of it. Now, what is the idea behind this? See, this pectin, when it enters the digestive system, especially the large intestine, the bacteria will feed on the pectin and release a compound called intestinal alkaline phosphatase. It's a big word, so just remember it's IAK, okay? It releases something like IAK. And that actually suppresses the genes which cause inflammation. Okay, that is why even if you have friends, who are suffering from irritable bowel syndrome or any kind of inflammation in the digestive system, it really, really calms them actually. Like I've seen it happening to many people actually. It's very, and if you're worried about the sugar levels, you can add a little bit of cinnamon, okay, or to balance the sugar levels in the apple if you're worried about it, okay. Or for the kids, if you want to add a little bit of raisins to that. So that is one thing, which you can all try, along with the root fiber and the fibrous vegetable. Then the other is the traditional resistant starch. Have you heard of resistant starch, which you find in potatoes and everything? That is the starch which will be digested only by the bacteria in the large intestine. The digestive enzymes will not digest that. So it could be cooked and cooled potatoes, cooked and cooled rice, cooked and cooled pasta, for instance, but not cooked and cooled oats, okay? That is not actually, you get a lot of fungus from that actually. So what happens is when you cook potatoes, cool and reheat, the resistant starch increases in that, okay? So that is very good for your gut bacteria. Then in Kerala, if you see, a lot of people have this tradition of eating this overnight porridge. So the next day morning, what they do is, the leftover rice soaked in water, the next day morning they have it actually. So that has actually tremendous amount of, it's a probiotic culture actually, which feeds the bacteria. It's called the kanji, we call it, the traditional this thing, that is called. So I just said, and in China, a lot of research has been done to prove about tapioca now, how cooked and cold tapioca is done. So we talked about this thing, and so what if I'm not diabetic? So a lot of people say they don't worry about it, A lot of us don't worry about sugar levels in the body. It's only for the type 2 diabetes, or that's what we think. But even if you are not diabetic, you need to manage the sugar levels. Now, I prepared this slide because of two things. One is people should know that, they have this very important to manage the sugar levels, whether you're diabetic or not. Second, we always talk about the health of the pancreas in managing diabetes. But it's not just the pancreas that is important, It's the liver, which is also very important, okay? So how does it happen? So, I don't want to talk much about insulin because we know that it is a fat, it transports the glucose to the blood cells. It's a fat storage hormone. And that is why insulin, has a habit of actually storing the fat in the cells. It will never help the cells to remove the fat. And that is why when you are fasting, when you are doing intermittent fasting, what happens is there is no insulin secretion. So the fat is removed from the cells in the absence of insulin. And again, you find that insulin liver has a habit of dumping, lot of glucose into the bloodstream for anybody actually, because it does, whatever we eat, excess of it is stored in the liver as glycogen. But again, liver also makes glucose from non-carbohydrate resources, okay? So non-sugar resources it makes. So what we need to do is we need to manage the insulin levels. How do we manage the sugar levels? Eat logically, eat with the awareness of glycemic index and glycemic load. For instance, if I'm having my breakfast, okay? If I had a lot of these, glycemic index is the rate at which the sugar levels spike in the blood after you eat something. So if I have breakfast with the traditional, let us say, idlis or dosas, and again I had watermelon and so many things, which spike up the sugar levels, the rest of the day, I need to balance it by having meals with ingredients with less of sugar. Okay, so that is the glycemic load is very important. That's why even with diabetes, and they eat banana, it's okay. But the rest of the day, what they eat, that's very, very important. Glycemic load and the glycemic index is very important. Then, when we are eating anything, let it be chocolates. Maybe it's okay to eat chocolates, but have it along with some nuts, because proteins and fats will prevent the sudden absorption, sudden spike in sugar levels. So it will prevent this. It will help in the slow absorption of sugar into the bloodstream. Okay. See, this thing, usually what I do is I engage people, I ask questions and everything, but now I'm in a hurry to share the information, okay? I'm sorry. So the other thing is, so we can manage sugar levels by doing this. And not only that, see, in winter you must have noticed, right? I mean, you want to eat potatoes and everything, but you will have less of fruits. So nature itself allows us to balance in that way. So we need to be more aware when we eat, actually. Now, how do you maintain liver health, actually? Okay, because as we age, the growth hormone becomes less. And the growth hormone, and the liver produces one more hormone called insulin-like growth factor, okay? Insulin-like growth hormone, which is an extension of growth hormone. So if your growth hormone is less, this IGH will also be less, okay? So if IGH is less, your insulin, I mean, it'll have problem in the sugar levels, because if liver has to, I mean, reconvert the glycogen into glucose, it needs this kind of, what do you call for it, this IGF, insulin-like growth factor in that. So how do I get this insulin-like growth factor always, up the curve like? So for that, we need to maintain the growth hormone. This growth hormone is very, very important, okay? So for that, we need to eat a lot of alkalizing foods, a lot of potassium-rich foods, a lot of alkalizing foods. We need to do high-intensity training level exercises. That also helps, in balancing the growth hormone. So those are the tips to maintain liver health. Eat as many alkali. And if you see, when we are having diabetes, people say, drink bitter gourd juice. Why? The liver likes something bitter for its health. It could be kale or anything. So just that, you need to pick those vegetables. So even if you are not diabetic, try to maintain all these things. The long run, it will help. Then trying to eat sensibly, not to spike the sugar levels. There's stress-induced eating. My friend spoke about, how it helps in the, how it leads to sugar cravings, fastens aging. And you can see that here that you will find the caps, right? In the chrome. These are called the telomeres, okay? So when you're very stressed, there's a lot of tension. The telomere caps actually becomes shortened, actually. That fastens the aging. So I just came out with this formula, like stress plus sugar is equal to cortisol plus insulin. That is inflammation in the body. Like, you can add sugar plus, why not coffee too, right? Stress, sugar, and coffee. So coffee actually elevates the cortisol levels. So stress, sugar, cortisol, and insulin leads to inflammation. And it decreases, sugar decreases collagen. That is why, fastens aging, like. I'm just quickly running through. Now, this is an important slide for me. So I was thinking, is there a line of eating that everybody can follow? Okay, whether, let's say, you may be following any kind of diet, what can I include in that? If you're including, we follow vegetarian, vegan, macrobiotic, ketogenic, anything, what can I actually include in all? Try to include all the anti-inflammatory foods and eat by listening to the body. These are the two things you can do. That is, listen to your body and eat. Understand your body. So how do you listen to your body? Like, if something doesn't suit you, if something, does not suit you, something is not digesting for you, just leave that, actually. It's very important, that if it doesn't, because it will cause digestive stress, okay? So more than listening to the people around you, more than find out what your body requirements are, okay? Removing processed foods, adding more alcohol. Try to eliminate a few things from your diet which are causing some problems for you, and see when you reintroduce them and find out, how your body reacts. Then you have the alkalizing juices and the cutting down white flour, partially hydrogenated fats, monosodium glutamate, and all these things. Then saturated fats, everybody knows about it. Anti-inflammatory, high-quality fats. I'm not getting more into that. Then turmeric, cinnamon, and minerals like magnesium, because magnesium is very, very important, when you include magnesium-rich foods in your diet. It could be the 100% raw cacao you get, or you can say cocoa without sugar, okay? That is a lot of magnesium in that. Tender coconut water, avocados, and bananas. All these are magnesium-rich foods. Then turmeric, I don't have to talk much about it, these are the sources of magnesium, so, and a lot of these sources of magnesium, they actually have a lot of these enzymes which help in releasing serotonin also, like mood enhancing. Last, I want to say nutrition is a journey. What we eat is only one half, and the rest is who we are as eaters. We are discovering many things, So try to eat a variety of fruits and vegetables and see what you can do. Have a blue day, have a green day, etc. Finish. Yeah, it is over, that's over. So dig deeper, and intelligent nutrition. I'm just finishing off with that. That is, connect yourself with the food, have awareness of what you're eating, and that is the big transformation that is going to happen. Culinary nutrition and intelligent nutrition, okay, the choices. Thank you so much for patiently listening.